A very good morning to all the students of class 6. My name is Prerna and I'm your English teacher. And today from your English book Skyline, we are going to be reading chapter number 14. So in this chapter, some students of class 6 are talking to people of different professions. So let us read this chapter and read out the conversation that these children are having or are involved into with different people from different professions. Here we go. So this is chapter number 14 and the name of the chapter is Come Meet Them. Them here refers to people of different professions. Here we go. Pratik spoke with an artist, Kamini Kaur. Pratik, why did you become an artist? So Miss Kamini replies, well, it's something I'd always wanted to do. I liked to paint and draw even when I was at school. My teachers liked my pictures. Pratik says, how did you learn about painting? So she says, in school, we had the usual drawing painting classes. Some of my teachers encouraged my work. I used to spend many hours at exhibitions of paintings. Then, after leaving school, I joined the College of Art. So Pratik says, is it difficult to become a painter? So she says, I think so. There is so much to learn. And you have to practice for hours at a sketch. It's a lot of hard work. Pratik says, did you know any painter when you were of my age? So she smiles and she says, yes and no. I did not know any painter personally, but I knew some of them through books. So she says that I had actually seen the work of a few painters in the book. I used to go to the school library, which had a good collection of books on the lives of great painters. He asked, what do you do with your paintings? She said, I send them to art fairs and exhibitions. Sometimes people buy them. Occasionally, I give a painting to be sold for some cause. Pratik says, will you please explain? It means that the money from a sale of a painting does not come to me. I gave it away to be used for some activity or to people who need help. Last year, I gave the money to Tsunami Relief Fund. And the year before that, I gave a painting to some people who were building a hospital in a faraway village. So, Kamini as an artist also does a lot of charity work. Pratik then asked her, what do you paint on? She says, generally I paint on canvas with oil paints, but I also illustrate stories and poems in books for children. I use watercolors or crayons on paper, which are then printed. Illustrate means to draw. Pratik says, can you tell me the name of one or two books? So she says, let me think now. There was this book, Adventure Stories, written by Radhika Menon. Have you read it? The cover has the sketch of an ancient Tibetan fort with footprints of Yeti going in. And what is Yeti? It's a large, hairy animal said to be found in the Himalayan region. So Pratik becomes really excited. He says, yes, I've enjoyed that book. I received it for my last birthday. The pictures were lovely. She says, thank you. I'm glad you like them. The last book I did was something called Science in Our Lives. I enjoyed doing the drawings. They came out excellently. So Pratik is surprised. He says, but how can a painter know about science? So she says, a painter can learn about science. I read many books and talked to a couple of scientists before I worked on that book. And did you know that one of the greatest painters of all times was a brilliant scientist too? He invented many machines. His name is Leonardo da Vinci. All of you have heard of him? The painter of the very unique painting called Mona Lisa. He lived in Italy nearly 400 years ago. Pratik, my last question is, how long do you work every day and where do you paint? So Ms. Kamni replied, those have to be two last questions. Some of us painters have got together and we share a studio. I also paint at home and I work about 6 to 8 hours every day on an average. But when I keep getting ideas, I work all throughout the day. So Pratik says, thank you very much for talking to me. Goodbye. Then there is another student of class 6 named Sunita, and she's speaking to Manish. And what is the profession of Manish? He's a tandoor wala. Okay, so this is the second child who's speaking to another person. So let us read the conversation between Sunita and Manish. Here we go. So Sunita asks Manish, where is your village? He says, I'm from Hoshiarpur in Punjab. Sunita asked him, why did you come so far to live here? So he replied, I came to your city 10 years ago to get a job. For 5 years, I was working in a textile factory, that is a cloth factory. Then it was closed down. I was out of job. So I gathered my little savings and set out a dhaba here. Sunita says, how did you learn to make rotis? So Manish, he laughs and says, before setting up this place, I worked for 1 year in another dhaba where I learned everything. An old man there, Babaji, taught me. Sunita speaks to herself and she says, he learned as an apprentice? Means as an intern? What work did you do in your village? Manish says, I was a peasant, that is a farmer. I was very poor and did not own any land. So Sunita said, what work did you do in the factory? So he said that I worked on the power loom. She says, did you like it? He says, no, it is always very dusty and stuffy. There was cotton fluff everywhere. I was always homesick for the open fields of Hoshiarpur. Sunita asked him, do you like to work here as a tandoor wala? Manish says, yes, I do, because I meet so many different kinds of people. I like to talk to them. And then Sunita had this very obvious question. Do people like your food? He says, why don't you taste it? Here, have a hot, crisp roti and this dal. I've tried a new recipe today. Sunita eats it and she says, yum, it's delicious. I'll tell my neighbors to come here. Do you have a recipe book? So he says, no, I do not, my child. I am an illiterate. Means I cannot read and write. So Sunita, she doesn't like this and she says, that's not good. May I teach you to read? I'd like to, please. So Manish, he becomes very happy and he says, will you really? I'd love it. But you must ask your parents first. Sunita is very confident. She says, they won't refuse. I will go now. Thank you for the interview. Please tell me how much I should pay for the food. So Manish says, nothing. I enjoy talking with you. You are my friend from today, so I won't take money. Go home now. It's getting dark. Sunita says, thank you. I will come tomorrow with a slate and books. Then there's another child named Manjeet who spoke to Kundan. And what is the profession of Kundan? He's a bookseller. Manjeet says, hello Kundan ji. I want to ask you about books in your shop. He says, sure. Please come in. I will show you how I keep my books first. There are different racks for different kinds of books. I keep the popular books in the front. Most people come to buy them, so they should be easy to find. I keep a low table in front for children's books. You will find here all the Harry Potter stories staring at everyone. On the racks behind the popular books, I keep more serious books. There are books on various subjects like history, geography, politics, economics, etc. Students are mostly interested in this section. On this shelf at the back are books on literature where I keep classics like Pride and Prejudice, David Copperfield, and Tom Sawyer. Manjeet, wow, you have a great variety. Tell me, Kundanji, how do you order these books and how do you know which books to order and keep in your shop? So, Mr. Kundan says, well, I get all my books from various distributors who supply the books in the market. They in turn are in contact with publishers who print and bring out these books in the first place. So you see, it works as a chain. It's difficult to know in the beginning which book will sell and which won't. We generally depend on publishers and distributors for the information. Then we get wiser as some books sell quickly and some remain unsold for years. Through this, we try and understand the buyer's choice. Those books which sell, we keep ordering again. Sometimes even customers tell us what kind of books I should keep. So Manjeet says, sounds interesting. Tell me though, do you have any interest in books or they're just useful to you for making money? So he says, I studied in school for 10 years. My parents were poor and couldn't afford to educate me anymore. I had to earn a living. So I started selling books. In the beginning, I had a small makeshift place. I have good friends who know a lot about books and they suggested what kind of books to keep. Then I took a loan from my friend and brought this bookstall. I like books, but I have no time to read now. Sometimes I browse through magazines though. Manjeet with a smile. Don't you get bored with the books, having to see them all over every day? So Mr. Kundan, he laughs. He says, I have come to like their various smells. I'm sure I'll get uncomfortable if I don't see them around. They're like my familiar friends now. So Manjeet says, thank you for talking to me, Kundanji. I hope your books sell well. Whenever I need a book, which you might have, I will definitely come to your shop. So, just like in this chapter, these students of class 6, they are interviewing people of different professions. Here is a small activity that maybe you all can do. So whatever profession you want to get into, let's say it's teaching, let's say you want to become a doctor, let's say you want to get into armed forces, you want to become an artist, maybe a painter or a dancer. Try and look for people who are into these respective professions from quite a number of years now. Prepare a set of questions that you have in your mind related to these professions and see if you can get answer to these questions. This might help you to decide on a career option. Thank you so much.